In this workout, we're focusing on a very important component of biomechanics, which is spinal stabilization. All you'll need is a TheraBand and a dumbbell, as well as a place to anchor your TheraBand. A strong piece of furniture or a table will do. Grab a mat and come join me. Hi, I'm Lauren Eirk, and I want to welcome you to Fitness Integrated Science TV. For some of you, you may have suffered some spinal issues over the course of your life that makes it very difficult to actually move through some ranges of motion. Or maybe you're playing some sort of a sport that requires your spine to really hold still while you throw a ball or swing a golf club. Either way, for us to be able to navigate things in our environment, whether that's pushing things away from us or pulling things towards us, one very important part of our mechanics is what we call spinal stabilization. Now, spinal stabilization is literally when we try to hold the spine still. We achieve a specific position so that the arms and the legs can do their job. Sometimes it's generating a lot of force from the spine out. Sometimes it's actually absorbing a lot of forces coming against it. But the ability to hold the spine still is really going to be a crucial component of virtually anything that you want to do. So today I'm going to be taking you through a variety of some of my favorite spinal stabilization exercises. Now, if you can tell, I've got kind of an interesting little environment around me today. And I did this because I'm on a set here with not a lot of props. Actually, you're going to be a lot more set up to do some of these things at home than I am here. We're going to be starting with an exercise called the Pallof press. And what I've done here is I've anchored a TheraBand to the chair itself. Now, I'm going to be kneeling on the ground for this. I'm going to explain this in just a second. But when I pull on this, the chair is probably going to move. So it's because I don't have a piece of furniture. A lot of you guys at home, you might have a set of stairs, a heavy couch, a table, something like that to anchor a TheraBand to. Since I don't have that, I'm just going to place 2 heavy dumbbells on top of the chair. And what this does is it keeps the chair from moving. It doesn't take a lot because I'm not going to be pulling really hard, but we want to make sure that we have some anchoring. So for spinal stabilization exercise number 1, the Pallof press, I'm going to go ahead and come down on my knees. Now, I know some of you out there might have knee problems, you might have a knee replacement, and if that's the case, not to worry. This exercise is traditionally done from a standing position. This is actually not going to require you to be on your knees. I'm going to be on my knees to make it a little bit harder. I'm not able to rely on the bones and joints of my feet and my ankles. I'm actually just on the one joint of the knee and the patella, 2 joints. And I'm only going to be trying to wobble around and really hold on to my balance. So if you have a knee problem, I want you to do this in standing, anchoring your band away from you. So what I'm going to do is I take my band across, and it's slightly at a diagonal. I'm going to take my band. I can already feel that the band is putting tension on my body. So when we think about spinal stabilization, not moving, holding still, my band is pulling me this way. It's almost like if the band had its way with me, I'd be going like that. Not to mention the fact gravity is pulling me to the floor. So I've got a lot of work here. I've got my spinal stabilizers just to be in this position. I'm in extension, and on your knees, you're going to feel it a lot more. Again, if it's too much, come to standing. Then I'm going to hold this against me. So I can feel that my shoulders are getting pulled on, my pectoral muscles, my internal rotators of the shoulder. A lot of my spinal rotators are here, and also my gluteals. I can feel a little bit more on this side. So there's a ton of trunk and spine stabilization. Now I want you to bring your shoulder blades into your back. Take a deep breath in. And then when you exhale, I want you to push the band forward. Try to lock out your elbows if you can. If it's too hard, you can keep them a little bit bent, and try to keep your shoulder blades on your back. Then as you inhale, we're coming right back into the center. So let's do that again as I push the band forward, inhale, and then bring that right back. So right off the bat here this morning, we are really working hard to hold the spine still. Let's say you got a couple of unstable spinal segments, and this happens a lot. Maybe you suffered from a herniated disc, maybe you have spondylolisthesis, something like that, or maybe you have some fusions. These types of exercises are really going to be good for that. So let's go a couple more. Here's 4, and back in, and you're going to feel this in your upper extremities quite a bit. Last 2. Now be careful that you're not rotating towards the chair. Do the best that you can not to, holding that there, and then release it. Okay, now, as we take a little break, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the outer foot of this opposite of where the band is pulling. So my band is pulling off to my right. I'm going to take my left leg forward. And now I've narrowed my base of support, so it's becoming a little bit more difficult. Now from here, just being that I'm on one knee, I can make the argument I have a wider base, but I'm only really pressing into one knee. I'm already feeling a lot of work over here on the obliques on the opposite side. So just like before, I want to lock my shoulders into my body, bring my elbows into my side ribs, and really work on sitting up straight. And then from here again, I'm pushing forward through the Pallof press, and then back in the middle. Inhale, squeeze, push out, and in. And you can feel as the band is trying to pull you away, these muscles are gripping into the side of the waist. If you could feel your waistline right now, it is, all those muscles are on guard, right? They are really working hard. Squeeze in and back down. Some of the mistakes or ways that people cheat in this exercise is they let their body start to rotate towards the attachment of the band. Sometimes they let their shoulders kind of roll off of their back, and obviously not fully extending the elbows. But sometimes those things that we call cheating are strategic because it helps us to get through the exercise. Not everybody is going to have the same amount of strength. Let's go 2 more times, and now I'm going to hold just a stability exercise. Let's just hold it here for 5, exhale 6, 7, 8, and release it. Okay, now to change sides, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and come up to standing and take these weights off. All right, so I'm just going to pick up my chair. I'm sure you don't want to look at my back side, so I'm going to go ahead and move this guy, which is very simple. And then I simply transfer my weights on top. So if you don't have anything furniture-wise at home, you can do the exact same thing that I just did. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take myself down onto my knees, or again, if you need to, come to standing. Now I get to see if my sides are symmetrical. So as I start with my band right close to my body, I can feel that I'm being rotated this way. So already I'm performing trunk rotation to the right. So I've got external and internal obliques really kicking in, shoulder protractors and retractors, a lot of rectus abdominis muscles, and gluteal muscles. So now again, as we inhale, we push out and then back in. So I'm putting really a lot more load on the hips on the opposite side. So I'm pushing out and bring it in. Now you're going to feel your chest muscles. I didn't say that, but your arm is getting pulled outward. So this motion of bringing the arm towards the middle of the body, which is called horizontal adduction, is going to be largely taken up by the pectoral muscles. So let's press it out and back in. Good. So let's go 4 more like this. And I want you to take your time. Don't be in any kind of a rush. 2 more to go. And 1 more. Now just hold this one here. Really feel that resistance for 5, 6, 7, 8, and release it. Okay, so now I'm going to take the opposite leg to where the band is attached, and I'm coming into that kneeling position. Now obviously if you want to make it harder, you can move yourself further away from the attachment. You could also grab a heavier band or even use 2 different bands. So again, as we inhale, we're pushing out. And I know from being in the gym setting my whole life, and we have one in our gym that I have in my facility, a trunk rotation machine. And most people, they like to get on those trunk rotation machines and just twist themselves around really hard, thinking they're going to whittle down their waist. When in reality, this is more in line with what your spine does on a daily basis. It actually is being pulled into rotation, and it keeps you from doing it. Thinking about any time that you reach down and pick up one suitcase, or you're reaching over the cabinet and grabbing one object, you're constantly being pulled into rotation. So let's do 4 more like this. Exhale, squeeze it out for 4. Bring it in. You have to be kind of like a statue when you're doing this exercise. Last 2. Beautiful. And then last 1. Okay, so now let's just bring it out in front and then just hold it here. Really feel those forces going through your spine. Feel those obliques working over here. Hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release it. All right. So we're done with that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this off the set so that we don't have to look at it anymore. Okay. So now I want to invite you to come down onto your mat. Okay, so as we come down now, I want to start actually just with body weight. So I want to turn all the way around here, and we come down onto our belly. Now from here, the wider the base of support, the harder it is. So let's just start by bringing our knees into the floor. And I want you to stack your elbows onto the ground. This eliminates us having to use our hands, plus it's going to make it a little bit harder on our abdominal muscles. So really focus on drawing the rib cage down to the hip, holding that here. Now if you want to go a little harder, you're going to drop the rib cage down. Harder still is to raise the knees up. So pick one of those positions, and we're just going to hold this here for about 30 seconds. And when you're holding this here, I want you to just keep your shoulders directed right above your elbows. Try to keep your spine from dropping down and sagging down, right? So we just want to hold this here, digging those elbows into the floor and just tightening down from ribs to hips, holding. Also, remember your knee muscles, your quadriceps, they're also really engaging here. Hold here. Let's go for 5. Exhale, 6, 7, 8, and come right back down. Okay, so now I'm just going to rotate to the side. Now this particular spinal stabilization exercise is great for the lateral flexors of the spine. So first thing I want to do is depress the shoulder out of the neck, and of course my elbows out to the side, so I'm adducted, my elbows out to the side, my arms raised. Starting off at the knee, we just raise those hips. This would be the first level. The second level would be to straighten the legs, and we're going to again hold this for about 30 seconds. Now when you're in this position, whether you're on your knees or not, one of the things that you're going to notice is that your shoulder is going to want to collapse out of your neck. It's up to you to maintain that tension from your rib cage down to your hip. So again, as we hold this, I want you to just take note of whether or not you're feeling really shaky. We have about 10 more seconds. Focus on drawing your feet all the way into your elbows. Let's hold for 5. Exhale, 6, 7, and lower down on 8. Very nice. Okay, so now as we bend our knees, I want to come right back up again. This time as we're assisting with that bottom leg, you can always come up onto your hand if you like. Otherwise, I'm just going to start from here. Now, as I press that back leg into the floor, I'm going to straighten my top leg. Now, using gravity as a resistance, I'm going to raise this leg up. So we're holding that hip abduction exercise, squeezing in. Let's just hold this for about 30 seconds. Now, if you want, you could put your dumbbell on your leg if that was something that you're interested in. But you can see that by now we're about 1.5 minutes only, but it feels like a ton of work on that shoulder. Just breathing here, tightening. Focus on drawing the elbow towards the knee. This is a long 30 seconds, isn't it? Okay, keep kicking. Don't lose that top leg. Holding here. We have 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and release it. All right. So now as we spin around to the other side, I want to try to repeat those. So you can definitely tell that holding that shoulder in position is a very, very important component of spinal stabilization. So as we look down the other side, let's take an eyeball down from the shoulder all the way down into that elbow. And again, as we push into the floor, we're driving that shoulder out of the neck. So as we start with bending the knees, we can begin just lifting those hips up. So this is sort of a smaller distance from the elbows to the knee. Otherwise, we could come all the way up on the side of the legs. So let's hold this for about 30 seconds, drawing the elbows towards the feet, holding. So again, we're trying to maintain the distance from here to here, holding, breathing. And if you want to, halfway through, you can bail out and drop your knee to the floor. You have the rest of your life really to work on this. Good, holding it here. And you're gonna start shaking a little bit at the end. We have about 3, 2, 1, and come right back down. Okay, so again, as we take that back through, I'm gonna bend my knees. Then from here, press right back up into my side plank, straighten the top leg, and now we come into hip abduction. So whenever we raise one leg, we're raising the other. You're gonna feel a lot of work in those hip abductor muscles, holding and breathing. We have about 20 more seconds. Keep tightening up into that outer hip. I don't have one of those little timers above me. All right, holding here 10 more seconds. Make sure your hips stay stacked one above the other, and you just want to breathe. Remember, at the end of the day, you're improving your ability to navigate your environment, and slowly release it. Okay, so now let's come back around where we were. And I want to come right back down onto my forearms once again. Okay, so as we come back into our forearm plank, let's just tighten up into our belly. Start by just lifting your hips up. And this is up onto your knees, so you don't have to worry about really working super hard. Now see if you can pick up one leg. All right, so we're on the knee, so we want to keep that leg up, even though the leg is actually pushing us into rotation. So this is going to hit our spinal rotators to the back. Hold for 4. Exhale 3, 2, and 1. And then finally, let's lower that down. Okay, take a little breather. Inhale, breathing. Exhale, then again, we lift our hips up off the floor, and you can really feel those abs kicking in. Right leg stays down. Take your left knee up, and if possible, can you raise your left leg up? So those glutes are really kicking in. Hold. So as we stay here for about 30 seconds, I want you to imagine that you had a carpenter's level on your pelvis. I always like that analogy because my dad did so much like home repairs growing up. And I want you to just feel that that bubble stay in the middle. You're not letting that hip drop. 10 seconds. Keep those shoulders on your back for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. All right, so let's give those upper body muscles a break. Take your arms to your sides. Separate your legs about hip width apart and press your pelvis into the floor. On your inhale, I want you to move your upper body off the ground. These are such important exercises to do that a lot of people never do them. Just holding this position. One thing that people feel is that they might notice going in and out of a position much more so than holding a position. We're not really rubbing the joints against each other when we're just holding it here. So let's keep pinching our shoulder blades into the back. If you start to bail out at the end, really think about all the components that go into this and relax. Okay, so I want to add that rotational component. If possible, and I realize some of you might be dealing with a frozen shoulder, so if that's the case, you can just keep your arm on the ground and just barely raise it up. Otherwise, you're taking your hand behind your head, okay? So I'll show the two versions. So here I am, I'm in a backward bend. One version, I'm just picking the arm up, and then the other version, I'm taking my arm behind the head. Hold. Good, now when you're here, I want you to really work on squeezing that shoulder blade into your back. Notice how the right side of your body is working so much harder than the left. Good, keep pressing those hips down. 10 seconds. Draw those shoulder blades back. See if you can bring that elbow up just a little higher and let it go. All right, changing. Okay, again, we make sure that our pelvis is anchored to the floor. Press those hips down, and then as you inhale, come into extension. I'm really eliminating the upper body. So here's number 1 is just to pick up the arm. Number 2 is hand behind the head. All right, so we're holding this again for 30 seconds. I'm keeping an eye on the clock here. Good, pinching back. We're just really focused on keeping the level of your shoulders the same. And as you're holding this, do you feel those muscles down here on the opposite flank, right? Those are your big spinal erectors. And I'm telling you, having done MAT all my life and done a lot of manual labor or manual therapy on individuals, you know, you get those big football players, those big linebackers, and they have those big muscular backs. Man, it's like pushing through Kevlar. And then exhale, bring that right back down. All right, for the last one, we want to try to do both arms at once. So we're basically making the entire torso heavier. Ready, inhale, pick it up. So I'm either here or I'm here. 30 seconds, hold. Good, now really work those shoulder blades together. Your arms are going to be your friend here. You do not have to look up. You can keep your chin tucked and look down. Good, keep pinching. Use your glutes as well. Remember, they're attached. Your gluteal muscles attach right around your sacrum and pelvis. So these are your friends. And let that go. All right, so as we push back up now, we come into our hands and knees. Now this is where I want to definitely have access to a dumbbell, but I want to start this with body weight first. Always, 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 whenever you're thinking about exercising, body weight first, add load later. So let's just begin by picking up the left knee and the right hand and just holding that there. We're not going to hold this 30 seconds, just maybe about 10. And then bring that down. And then do the same thing on the other side as we pick that up to hold. Okay, so just kind of assess for yourself. Let's do that one more time on each side. Do you have a combination? Maybe it's left to right or right to left. Do you have a combination that's more challenging than the other? And bring it down. And can you keep your back fairly symmetrical? In other words, don't let your body wobble a whole lot. Now, if it's appropriate for you, I'm going to take this dumbbell and put it behind my left knee. Then from here, when I pick it up, that leg weighs more, and then I'm bringing this arm up. Now, we're going to stay on this side for just a little bit. Then when you put it back down, there shouldn't be a lot of motion left. Now, what if you're somebody dealing with a knee replacement right now and you cannot kneel? And I know I have a couple of people that I've talked to personally that are on this app that have knee replacements. You're going to do this in standing with one leg going straight back. Okay? So your hands are on the chair and your leg is going straight back. And you're not going to use a dumbbell, right? Your leg is the dumbbell. Okay, so you're holding this here. Now, if you can, let's reach this other arm in front. And then back down. And then again, so the whole time I'm going through these repetitions, my back is staying consistent. Now this is going to be my final one, and this is completely optional. I'm going to move the arm and the leg. Here we go. Now you got to be able to hold on to the dumbbell. That's kind of a principle. Then back down. And then one more. Ready? Inhale, squeeze it up and hold. And bring that down. Okay, so the opposition arm and leg. So let's try the other side now. Placing that dumbbell behind your knee again. Spread your fingers, and if this bothers you, feel free to come up onto your fist or roll your mat up a couple of times to pat it. So let's go ahead now and again pick up that knee just a slight amount and then pick up the opposite arm. And you're going to feel all these muscles literally lighting up in your back, and then release it. Let's try that again. Picking up knee to hand and hold it. Just tighten up those abs. And back down. And again, tightening that up, hold for 5, 6, 7, 8, and release. Okay, so now let's add that shoulder flexion to it. Inhale, breath. Can you move your arm out in front? So we just made the torso have to work a little harder. And back down. Make sure when you drop it down that it's not a ka-thump, right? We want to hold it up nice and easy. And back down. Now, if you like, add a little motion from your hip as well. Okay, so bracing into your core, tighten your abs, pick those both up, and then if you can, we're squeezing them out. Good, then as we come down, we want to make sure that it's very graceful. We're not just thumping into the floor, and then again, we're squeezing that up to hold it, breathe. And back down. So let's go ahead and take that weight out, and just for funsies, let's see how strong our spine is, and we start to add a little speed to this. So opposite arm to leg, I'm going to fully extend. Now if I'm going too quickly for you at home, I want you to slow it down. Always feel free to do that. And by the way, there is a speed. You can put me on a slower speed if you like. It's right in the app. Just go down to the settings on the page and you'll be able to see in the corner, just like on any other video channel, you can slow this down. I wouldn't slow it down to the very slowest because I'll sound really weird and you might not enjoy that, but you could mute me, I guess. Let's go 2 more times. And then 1 more time, hold. Then finally, we come down. Okay, excellent. Let's get off of those hands, shall we? Okay, so now as we're rounding out the last few minutes of our routine today, let's go ahead and roll down onto our back. Okay, so we can do this type of thing where we have what I like to call the tabletop. Bringing both of our legs up to the ceiling now, the legs become the dumbbells. Press your shoulder blades into the ground. So on your inhalation breath, I want you to see if you can tap the right leg down. Now you may not be able to tap it all the way down, but see if you can. Now this is nice because I don't have to move my head and neck. And when I'm tapping one foot to the floor at a time, what I notice here is that maybe one side of my body is a little better at holding still than the other. That's always such great information to have because that gives us something to work off of. Now let's bring the arms up over the head, right? So now when this leg goes out, the idea is, can we bring the arm over the head at the same time? Now the further you move the limbs away from each other, the harder it is. So you can always keep them closer to home base. Another thing you can do is bring your legs closer to you, and that's going to make things much, much easier. So there's all kinds of ways to modify. If you feel like you want to come into a crunch, so for instance, let's say that you're like this, Sometimes that makes it easier to keep your spine on the ground. Bring it in, and then finally, let's bring those knees into the chest. Now for my final variation here, what I want to do here is I want to see if potentially I could do this with a dumbbell. Now this is going to be much, much more challenging, okay? So let's take the weight directly up over the head. So this is resembling a pullover. So on your inhalation breath, I want you to pick up one leg and then pick up the other leg. So this is our tabletop. If that's not comfortable for you, start the tabletop behind 0. Otherwise, they're stacked at 0. First of all, let's just hold this dumbbell in the middle. So we tap the right leg down. Don't let your waistline come up. Keep the rib cage to the hip so your abs are firing the whole time. Do the same thing on the left, and then bring it right back up. Again, right side. Now what we're going to do is we're starting to move this dumbbell a little bit. Let's just hit this one more time for practice. Okay, so now on the inhale, when that leg drops, can you actually bring your arms over your head in a pullover? Then squeeze into your lats and come back to the center. So just a review for the pullover exercise, let the shoulder blades come up. Then as they draw the weight down, the shoulders are dropping. Let's do that again. Inhale, shoulders over the head, and then exhale, bring that down. Now, one thing I'm going to do to make this harder for some of you at home that might want to, you may be resting at this point, you could come into that fully extended position. So now when one leg goes to the floor and the arms go over the head, it is truly, truly a core stabilization exercise. Not everyone can lower their foot to the floor. You may look something like this, right? That's totally fine. That might be a great way to modify these exercises. And you might still feel more comfortable with your knee flexed, your knee is bent. Squeezing that in, take it out. So at the end of the day, my abs, my spine is not changing. I'm trying to stabilize its position. One more. Beautiful. And release it. All right, very nice. So now we want to try to introduce a rotation. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this weight and hold it right over here on my right-hand side. Place your left hand behind your head, and then as you exhale, let's come into a crunching motion. Now we're holding that crunch, so we're in a position of flexion, which we have yet to do. Everything's been sort of straight up and down. We did some backward bends, but not flexing yet. So let's push this weight up to the ceiling so we feel it. Now, I want you to maintain this. Lower your weight just a few inches to your legs, but maintain your spinal position. And that may actually be pretty easy. Come back to the center. Now take your weight across your body a couple of inches. Don't let your spine move. Hold it. Inhale back to center. And now let's take that weight out to the side. Whoa, do you feel how this side of your body wants to roll off the floor? And then back to the center. And then here's another one that's really challenging. Bring the weight over your head, but don't let your body come down to the floor. Okay, so let's make a little circle. I'm going down, across. Looks like that PT rehab exercise they always do, except the patient is bending over. Pendulum swings. We're doing a pendulum swing. Okay, other side, rotating it around, squeezing. Don't let anything change on this crunch. You're going to feel that whole right side lighting up. And release that down. I'm sure you felt that. And the more subtle, actually, the better. So let's do the same thing on the other side. I've got my hand to brace. Tuck the chin, draw the rib cage to the hips. You're feeling that the spinous processes sinking into the ground. So let's come into that crunch. I want you to really maintain that. So we're squeezing down into these muscles. We're not going to change anything. Now stack the weight on top. So now the left side's a little heavier. So without coming forward anymore, drop the dumbbell down just a little bit towards your legs. So we're a little bit more shoulder extension now. And then as you inhale, let's go back to center. Now cross the dumbbell over your body. Even though you want to rotate your left side up, don't let it happen. Keep your head relaxed in your hands. Come back to the center and now move the dumbbell away from the center. And now you're feeling like that right shoulder wants to come up. Good. And the last one, let's take that weight over the head, which is very challenging. Hold it. Whew. Okay, so now let's do our pendulum swings from here. So it's down, across, up, and back. And as I make that circle, my job is to not leave the crunch as well as not stress my shoulder. Now let's change and go to the other side. Sit everything nice and solid, beautiful. Squeezing gently, one more, and release it. So as we take both of our weights over the head, on the hands rather, on the weight, go ahead and lower this down. Roll yourself all the way up, pull it in, and you should be upright. Okay, so now as we finish today, I want you to notice how you feel posturally. Press your hands into your legs, and when I say that, it's so light. I'm just basically touching my legs. But I want you to pull your legs up into your hands. So that brings our hip flexor muscles. Definitely feeling those abs. How about you? Yeah. Then hold that there, place your hands against the ground and sit up tall. Ah, that feels so good, doesn't it? Take your right arm across to your left knee and turn your body looking over that shoulder. Just breathe. Now look over the opposite shoulder. It feels so good just to move your neck around a little bit. Back to the center switch, take your left shoulder across, push the knee up into the hand. Feel that rotation, inhale. We're still doing spinal stabilization. Now turning, you're staying in that rotation, breathe. Turn your head towards the back shoulder. See how that feels? Now your job is to maintain this now. As you turn your head away, can you still keep all those forces in your lower body? And then back to the middle. Now let's just round the back, sort of let that go a little bit, which feels kind of nice. And then inhale, sitting up tall, raise your chest and sternum. And then one more time, sit back, round your back, tuck your pelvis. Inhale, sit up tall, bring your shoulders into your back, and you are done. I hope that you enjoyed this video today, and please come back to this often. You will get better and better at these things the more that you do them. Any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll see you on the next workout.